Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Media Matters by Anfield Index. That window has slammed shut, but there's still things going on, and there's still things just creeping out the woodwork now and again. In fact, we're winding ahead. We might even be able to talk what's happening in January, and who would even think it, what might be a move in the summertime as well. Here to join me as ever is the renowned and the respected Lewis Steele, and I'd say you were enjoying sort of a wind-down period, but there's business lunches and all sorts of things going on for you, isn't there really, Lewis, at the moment?
There is, yeah. There was a nice business lunch, as you call it, yesterday. And today I was doing a bit of England international duty as well, so just from home. I didn't actually go to St George's Park, but yeah, I've been hoping to have a weekend where I don't have to do any work, though, which is nice. Because last weekend, as we know, was extremely busy with the game, and then on the way back.
Yeah.
And then I was pretty much, from the second the Arsenal game finished to about 9 p.m. on Monday, I was flat out working with about 4 hours of sleep in between.
Yeah, it was tough. It was all the way through right till, deal sheet time, wasn't it, on Monday and beyond as well. So, I mean, there's a million and one things we're going to catch up around that and all the off-the-field activity as well. So we'll get right into it straight away. And probably the biggest deal, as everyone knows, from the window, and maybe even the biggest one right at the end, Alexander Isak. So there's been details, obviously, and this has gone on all summer, but have creeped out even right at the end. From reading your bits and hearing different things, this is one where it almost escalated right to ownership level, didn't it, to get this one done? We had to get the top people, the big dogs involved, as it were.
Yeah, I think Michael Edwards took the lead on it from a Liverpool end, dealing directly with PIF. I always forget what PIF stands for, Public Investment Fund or whatever. So it was basically, the Saudis were running it from Newcastle's perspective, and I've been on here multiple times in the last 6 weeks, sort of saying it's probably going to happen, but Newcastle and the Saudis are not wanting it to happen. I think there was always an expectation it would probably go all the way through to the end. Maybe not quite as long as it did, getting the deal done, with less than 24 hours to go. But I think Newcastle were always going to eke out every penny that they got. And the Vissa deal very nearly collapsed, actually, at the last second, which could have pulled the plug on the Isak deal.
Wow.
So there was, it could have fallen apart, basically, but it didn't. It didn't, and Isak's through the door. And, we spoke about that for months and weeks, and it's finally happened. It's, it was... But then with the whole Guehi thing on deadline day, the fact that Liverpool have made the best signing of the summer in Isak, it almost felt like a bit of like that was the second biggest news story of the day because of the Guehi stuff.
It was a bit strange, the way it all unfolded. I suppose the only other thing I wanted to ask you about Isak is, so your article, you've got him on the bench for Burnley, haven't you?
Yeah, I do. But there's two reasons for that. It's because, A, Liverpool have won the first 3 games, so I don't think it would send out the right messages to Gakpo, Ekitike and Salah if Isak just walks into the team. And B, I don't think he's fit enough to play. Definitely not fit enough to start because he's not played a competitive match since the middle of May for Newcastle. He didn't play the June international camp. He didn't play any pre-season friendlies. He didn't, he's not even trained with his teammates for Newcastle. So I think he's still a few weeks away from fitness, actually. So you might have to be a bit patient with him this week. Not this week, this first month. But we'll see if he plays for Sweden this weekend. I think they play. Is it tonight that they play? Maybe
I think it is tonight. Yeah,
we'll see if he plays in that game.
Will be interesting to keep an eye on, especially Burnley is pretty much a week or just over a week now as well. And you're right, for all the happiness we had over Isak, it was brilliant with the normal things like that. Marc Guehi did dominate this, and I suppose for all the stories we got, I don't know, you reported it. They was literally at Liverpool's office, medical done, the different things. Does it basically come down to a manager won a power play against a guy who was too busy in a Soho fitness class?
Yeah, pretty much. So on Sunday night after the Arsenal game, someone told me that the deal was very, very, very close to being done. So I think I wrote it. And then I had people saying that I'd got it wrong, which was like, well, maybe, but it was very, very close to being done, and the deal was actually done. Yeah. And he'd done medical, and they'd agreed personal terms and club to club terms, and then they pulled the plug. I've never seen anything quite like it. But I do think it's come down to Glasner and Parish. Parish basically thought that Glasner would leave if Guehi left. So I didn't envy Steve Parish's position on Monday because he had a very, very big decision to make, and neither outcome was very good for him, really. But I think out of all of Liverpool's signings this summer, if you're going to miss out on one, then maybe Guehi is that one, because they've already got 4 centre-backs, so it wasn't a critical need. Whereas if they missed out on Isak, that you could make a case for the attack looking very light.
Yeah,
that was just a mental deal. Like some of the things that were happening, like the video that Palace made.
Yeah.
And like well, I know how people got it, but it's just mad that just leaked. And then the whole fact that it was done and then it wasn't done and then it was done again and then it wasn't done.
Yeah.
It was quite the saga in that 48 hours, and I was quite glad when the window did slam shut and I knew that I didn't have to keep up with it anymore, because I was constantly chasing my own tail on that story.
And I suppose, and you've got it as one of the strap lines in your tweet there, Guehi in January ? I suppose that is the $1 million question now, because people reporting that even suggestions from Fabrizio Romano said today, no guarantee. It does sound like they've done a lot of work, and we know Liverpool, when they do that groundwork, even if they can't do it straight away, like to go back in. Is that your inkling, or what you're being told at the moment, that there is a real chance still in January?
Yes, I would be very surprised if they didn't end up signing him. The only question mark is whether that is in January or whether they wait till next summer. And I think that Liverpool will maybe take stock of their options when the January window opens. Yeah. But there are different clubs in for him as well. But I just think the fact that he'd agreed a move to Liverpool, I think it would be quite bad on Liverpool's part if they didn't eventually sign him, because they've for all intents and purposes, Marc Guehi was a Liverpool player on Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
So he's agreed to that move. You know, they've put the money on the table. So I think that will end up happening. And maybe they'll end up doing it for a lot less money. And that'll be Palace's fault. But then obviously Glasner will probably threaten to walk then as well. So it's but they've got 3 months now, haven't they, to 3 or 4 months now to sort out a replacement. So let's see what happens. But you know, January might roll around and 2 Liverpool defenders are out for the season or whatever. So we don't know what will happen.
Yeah, there is a bit of uncertainty there, and you got our attention when you dropped that person's name, because obviously Harvey Elliott is now, well, he is a Liverpool player officially. He's on loan at Aston Villa, but we know it's an obligation. We know there's buyback clauses in there as well. You mentioned Rodgers. Is that linked to the 35 million fee, as in, is this groundwork for Morgan Rodgers potentially?
Maybe. I've not actually heard anything to suggest that would be the case. So I don't want to get people excited for no reason on that one. But Rodgers' name has been put on my inbox a couple of times earlier this summer, as I think I wrote in there. And it was sort of quashed, played down to me at the Liverpool end. So I think it's fair to say that they like Rodgers, but they weren't, planning any moves for him this summer when I checked. maybe next summer we'll see. He's not really done much to start the season, is all I would say. But then again, neither have a lot of good players. But he could be one for next summer, especially when you think that Villa are in a bit of a mess with FFP.
Yeah.
Which is, I think it's a silly situation anyway. I don't like the rules, but Villa have been really hamstrung this summer. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Emery walks at some point in the next 12 months. But yeah, it could be one for the future, Rodgers, but I've not actually heard much on that yet. But we'll see.
Interesting. Definitely one to keep an eye on. And I'll be honest, the Leone Guehi also sort of felt intertwined earlier this summer, but I know you've written repeatedly about Leone, and Liverpool really see this as a coup, don't they? I mean, he's in the Italy squad, but for almost all the feeling we missed out on Guehi, we might have to rely on Leone. The club really see this as a coup, though, don't they?
Yeah, because I think the way that they see it is if they look at the data and what Leone has done in not many games. Basically, they really wanted Huijsen this summer and Euro last summer and Colwell the summer before. But they were all 50 million players by the time that Liverpool wanted them. Yeah. And the way they see Leone is if he had another Serie A season under his belt, he would also be a £50 million player. So I think the way someone explained it to me was Liverpool feel like they're stealing a march on rivals by getting in Leone maybe a year earlier than he's ready for the move. That's not to say he's not ready, but he is the fourth choice centre back. He's never played a minute of Premier League football in his life. He's only 18, so you will have to be patient with him. That's why I was a little bit surprised when they were saying he's definitely not going out on loan, because I thought get him in and then loan him back to Italy for a year.
Yeah.
Or loan him out to a Bournemouth, Brentford sort of club in this country. Yeah. But I don't know, because he's not going to play much football here unless there's an injury. He'll play the Carabao Cup probably against Southampton, but I can't really see him, ever starting ahead of Konate or Van Dijk in the league. So, but yeah, Liverpool think they've got a real talent on their hands, so let's see how he settles in. But he's a big lad, isn't he? He looks apart in clips I've seen.
Yeah, looks an absolute beast. It'll be interesting to see how he performs. They say if he gets the game time as well. And it was interesting the way you've written about this, because you're right. You've obviously been on the pod various times, and there's been names, but one that people will know Barcola, Fofana. We've talked about those before. The one that's really struck me that you've written about recently, probably not the winger everyone thinks I'm going to ask you about, Leao at AC Milan. This seems like, so is this a real possibility? It could have potentially happened at some point.
Yeah, so the Milan sporting director, who I can't remember his name, it's like a short name. Can't remember his name, like Illich or something like that, but it's not that, Ichich or something. He apparently was offering Leao around. I think Milan needed some money, and he's their best asset.
Yeah.
And apparently Liverpool, one of the clubs that he offered them to, and in the same meeting or phone call, whatever, he asked if that Milan could sign Chiesa, and Liverpool said no, and Chiesa said no. Wow. And obviously Milan also nearly signed Joe Gomez, but it didn't quite work out on deadline day as well. So, yeah, I don't think it was any more than that. I just think that Liverpool got offered a few wingers this summer, one that we might come on to later, because I know what question that you're going to ask me later, and but they kept saying that they didn't want to block Rio's development. So, and I think in the back of the mind they knew they were going to sign Isak, so they didn't want to put down 80-100 million on a winger as well.
Makes sense, yeah. Little things, that sliding doors moments that never happen. And I'm not going to go straight into what you think I'm going to go into. I'm going to just touch lightly on your new social media bromance. You and Bayern Space seem to be pretty friendly at the moment, don't you? This seems to, has he replaced Barry in your affections, essentially?
Yeah, me and Barry don't speak. No, I'm joking. I said that to someone the other day. I am joking. No, he's. I don't really know much about buying space other than he was spot on with everything in the Wirtz saga, and he was also spot on with some details of the Luis Diaz saga that I, got verified by different people. So he must know someone inside Bayern, basically. And yeah, he basically. At first, I thought he was saying that I was just copying him, so that's why I sent him a nice reply. But it turns out he wasn't.
There you go. The start of something budding, and the start of something budding. You know which player because he's even mentioned it there. Michael Olise, and I know you've written about him. Is this future Liverpool target? Is there much in it, do you think? Is there a real chance Olise could end up down the line at Liverpool?
Yeah, I think he will be a name that is discussed a lot next summer or the summer after, just because Bayern, from what I hear, are preparing for a big sale at some point in the next 12 months. Not sure why they would be doing that, but that's just what someone said. And Liverpool will be looking for a Mo Salah replacement, or not necessarily replacement, but a long-term successor, should we say. And I think that Olise could be on the list. But obviously it's very, very early days. Because this time last summer, someone told me that Rodrigo could be on the list for this summer, or the summer just gone. And that never really happened. So just wanted to urge a bit of caution. But Olise could be on the list this time next year. We'll have to see. But I think it's fair to say he's a very, very talented player, and one that they had a look at before he went to Bayern. And he's gone from strength to strength since he left Palace as well. I think he was a bit inconsistent there, but now he's a real talent, and still very young as well.
Interesting. Yeah, very popular. If it is the successor in the chat panel there, Michael Olise. Love that we're starting to even prepare 2026 lists in September 25. We're getting there already. And the final question I'll ask you around the transfer bit, give us a bit of juice. Give us a bit of one that maybe didn't come to light or just missed out on. Something that maybe didn't quite make the public domain that was a bit exciting during the transfer window that you got wind of.
Well, there's a few that Liverpool people, that people not connected with Liverpool were telling me all summer that never actually quite worked out. One of them was that Rodrigo's camp were on the phone to Liverpool all the time trying to get them to make a move for him. And the whole Man City being interested in Rodrigo was a plant from Rodrigo's camp to jolt Liverpool into action, and that never happened. Also, I think that João Pedro was on the list, or was offered to Liverpool at some point earlier in the year, because Paul Barber, who's the Brighton CEO, was going around telling people that Liverpool were interested in João Pedro. But that was maybe Liverpool being used to drive a market for Pedro before he went to Chelsea. And yeah, there's a few other names that I can't quite remember. There was talk of Bastoni at one point that never really got off the ground. It was just his name was mentioned, and then it sort of died a death in terms of the talking. So I think that's it. There was a few tenuous links with strikers that never really looked realistic to me as well. But yeah, Rodrigo's camp were definitely trying to get him to Liverpool, but Liverpool were having none of it. Yeah, Bradley Barclay, as we know about, was mentioned at one point, but never quite got off the ground either because of what we said earlier with Rio.
Yeah.
So It could have been a bit different this summer, but I think they were always planning to sign them to upgrade the forward line and the fullbacks, and that's what they've done.
Crazy. Look at that. In another lifetime, would we have taken Rodrigo's agent's call? Would João Pedro have been a target? But yeah, sliding doors moments, but things that don't happen, interestingly, in the transfer window.